I grow up, that's what I want to be. And he swears to this day that from the time he could walk, talk, and think, he knew he was going to be a priest, and he never wavered. I think that's pretty cool. Anyway, so now, he's 13 or 14. He knows he's going to be a priest. We know he's going to be a priest. And about once a week, he would gather the family, mom, dad, siblings, and we would have a fake mass. We called it Tim's Mass. And, I'm outside playing ball. My sisters are playing dolls. Mom's trying to make dinner. Dad's just getting home from another hard day of work. And Tim calls another fake mass. And he would literally, start to finish, he'd get the card table out and put a white tablecloth. That was the altar. He'd use some of Mom's Welch's grape juice. That was the wine. He'd get a slice of white Wonder Bread and a small little orange juice glass, and he sort of squished the Wonder Bread with the orange juice glass, so then he would peel the perfect shape of a host, and he would say Mass from start to finish. Now, for a while, this was pretty cool. After a while, it got pretty old. I want to be outside playing ball. And then once my dad raises his hand and says, "Tim, can this count for Sunday?" We put an end to it once when he tried to take up a collection. They don't teach that in seminary, do they? That's just sort of natural. He tried to take up a collection. My dad says, "Look, I give on Sundays. You think I'm giving to you, you're nuts." So that sort of put an end to it. When he came to Milwaukee, I think the thing he does perhaps better than anyone is he brings our faith down to a level that we can all understand. He could talk over our heads, but he chooses not to. And he does that through stories and anecdotes, which often bring a laugh, but also at the end, there's a message there. And it brings our Catholic faith down so we can better understand it. Then when we can better understand something, we can better live it. We can better follow it. We can better do it. He tells the story, and he told it several times when he was Archbishop here. When he was a parish priest back in St. Louis, his first, right after ordination, he was a little parish called Immaculata in suburban St. Louis. So as the associate, he was told by the pastor to attend the kindergarten Christmas pageant. And so he did, and he goes, and it's jam-packed cafeteria, all the proud moms and dads and grandmas and grandpas, and everybody's got their cameras. And there was this cute little kindergarten boy, his name was Ben. And Ben's role was one of the innkeepers. And Ben was supposed to say, "No, we don't have room." So the play begins, and there's 3 innkeepers in this particular play. And Mary and Joseph come on stage, little 7-year-old Mary and Joseph. And they get to the first cardboard door, and Joseph knocks on the door, and Joseph says, "Excuse me, we've come a long way. My wife here is expecting a child. We're very tired. Do you have room?" First innkeeper says, "No, we don't have room." They go to the second door. Knock again. "Joseph, we're tired. Come a long way. Do you have room?" "No, we don't have room." Now they get to Ben's door. And Joseph goes through the litany again. "We're tired. We've come a long way. My wife's having a baby. Do you have room?" And Ben peeks his head out the window and says, "Sure, come on in." Now these are kindergarten kids. They don't know what ad-libbing's all about on stage. So they all froze. They didn't know what to do. And the teacher comes out and puts her arm around little Ben, and she says, "Ben, don't you remember you're supposed to say, 'No, we don't have room'?" And Ben looks at the teacher and says, "But how do you say no to Jesus?" And my brother says, first of all, just like you, there's that, "Oh." And then everybody applauded. And my brother says, we could have had any priest, any deacon, any theologian, any archbishop, any bishop, any cardinal, anyone, come and deliver a Christmas homily, and none of them would have been as effective as little Ben. How do you say no to Jesus? It's stories like that I think he does better than anybody else. Another one he tells, he had a confirmation at a parish in West Dallas. And all the kids are coming up, and as he's wont to do, he likes to strike up a conversation. And so he's asking their confirmation names, and then he's also doing some follow-up questions. Well, one little girl says, he says, "What's your name going to be?" And she says, "Catherine." And Tim says, "Oh, I love St. Catherine." And the little girl says, "Yes, I want to be St. Catherine." So Tim says, "Oh, which St. Catherine do you want to be?" And he says, as soon as he asked that question, the poor little girl sort of froze, and she got that look on her like, "What do you mean, which St. Catherine do I want to be? I didn't know there was more than one." So he says, I knew I put her on the spot. I shouldn't have done that. I'm embarrassing her in front of a lot of people. So I tried to help her out here. I said, "Well, there's St. Catherine of Genoa or Alexandria or Siena or any of them." And he's going down the list, and finally she interrupts him. She jumps in and says, "Well, Archbishop, I want to be St. Catherine of West Alice." And everybody laughs. She sort of trumped the Archbishop. That was pretty great. Everybody laughs, and then he used that as a way to give us all an example, because we're all called to be saints. We're all called to a life of holiness. We're all called to a life of sanctity. It's tough. Many of us fall. It's hard to do, but it's out there for all of us. So he used that little girl as his example that, yes, it can be done. We're all called to a life of sanctity. There's so many other stories in the book. The book is here after I'm done speaking. If you'd like to purchase, I'd be honored to sign it. Although when I sign it, the price goes down. I don't know how that works. But a few things about conclave. Was everybody watching the white smoke? Wasn't that pretty cool? It's always cool. I tell you, that hour between white smoke and balcony was the longest hour in our lives. And I don't say that. I want to be very clear. No one in his family thought he was going to walk out on that balcony. But still, when the white smoke pops up, and you're knowing he's inside there, you start to think, what if? And that was a long hour. I had before conclave, a TV reporter calls me. Local TV, female anchor reporter, not going to say her name. This is before they set the date for the conclave. Remember that it took about a week or 10 days before we actually knew when the conclave was going to start. She calls me and says, "Bob, we're just trying to plan our coverage. Can you answer a few questions for me?" I said, "Sure, I'd be happy to." First thing she says is, "When does the conclave start?" I said, "Well, how am I supposed to know that? What am I in touch with the Pope? I don't know." Second question, I swear. She says, "Will your brother be tweeting from inside the conclave? Because we'd like to receive those tweets." Can you believe that? My brother wouldn't know what a tweet was, first of all, if I didn't tweet, I called him the day after Benedict's resignation, which, by the way, he didn't see coming. We were all surprised, including him. I called him the day after. I knew the day of he'd be very busy. And I call, he obviously sees it's me on the cell phone because he doesn't say, "Hi Bob, how are you? What's going on?" He jumps right into the conversation. He says, "Bob, I just got off the phone with the bookies in Ireland on 25-1. What do you think?" Shows you how seriously he was taking it. Now, I'm sure we all read dozens of stories, and we all listened to all the news reports about all the speculation in the weeks leading up to the conclave. Perhaps I read more than others because I had more of an interest. And depending on which story you read, you got different ideas of his chances. I have no idea if he got 0 votes or 50. I have no clue. I'll probably never know. Although I'm hoping a bottle of Jameson's might get him to talk. But I will probably never know. But depending on which story you read, some of them freaked us out. Now some of them said that the leading candidates were Cardinal Scola from Italy, Cardinal Scheer from Brazil, Cardinal Ouellet from Quebec. Those are sort of everybody's top 3. No matter which story, those are the top 3. And then you get into, but it also could be. And there you'd see names like Dolan, you'd see names like O'Malley in Boston, and sort of all around the couple of cardinals from Africa. But depending else, so we never bought into it. The family never bought into it. until the morning of the second day of the conclave, which ended up to be the final day. Because my daughter, Erin, found a story that morning from Rome that said the cardinals went into the conclave last night with two leading candidates. One was Scheer from Brazil, and a lot of cardinals were gathering around him. And the other, according to the story, was Dolan of America, and there was a good group of cardinals around him. So we read that story, and that's when we started to freak. That's when we started to think, you have got to be, what if this really happens? Imagine.